Oh, yeah.
Yes, all right, so welcome to the 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission organizational hearing. Moving right along, if we want to do the call to order, which I just did, yes. Pledge of allegiance, yeah, if you'll stand up. I don't do this very often.
Welcome to my life.
All right, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Lisa, if you could do roll call, please.
Mr. Boggs.
Here.
Mr. Brewery. Mr. Bush. Mr. Mancino.
Here.
Ms. Rogers.
Here.
Mr. Smiley. Mr. Truax.
Here.
All right, next up, we'll do the adoption of this year's Planning and Zoning Commission hearing schedule. So should have a copy of that there in front of you, so you didn't have too much time to look at it, but there aren't any objections to those dates.
It's still the first Wednesday of every month, except
For today.
today. Pretty much the only change.
I make a motion that we accept the 2025 Pataskala Planning and Zoning Commission schedule as stated.
Second. Second.
Mr. Truax.
Yes.
Mr. Boggs.
Yes.
Mr. Mancino.
Yes.
Ms. Rogers.
Yes. Yes. She said she couldn't hear us.
It's on now.
All right, and then next, we'll take nominations for chairperson.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Rick Boggs.
I second.
Any challengers? Is there any challengers?
Anybody else? Well, we got 3 people out. So, if you miss a meeting, you sometimes get bad assignments.
That's true. That's a good point.
All right, let's see. Ms. Rogers.
Yes.
Mr. Mancino.
Yes.
Mr. Boggs.
I'll abstain.
Mr. Truax.
Yes.
All right, congratulations, Rick.
Thank you.
Next, we'll do nominations for vice chairperson. Anyone want to step up?
I'll nominate Jerry.
Second.
Mr. Mancino.
Yes.
Mr. Boggs.
Yes.
Ms. Rogers.
Yes.
Mr. Truax.
Abstain.
All right, congratulations, Jerry. And I'll turn it back over to Rick now since he's the chairperson again.
Well, the only other thing on the agenda is to adjourn this meeting. So
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the January 2nd, 2025 Planning and Zoning Administration meeting.
organization.
Organizational.
You have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Roll call?
Ms. Rogers.
Yes.
Mr. Boggs.
Yes.
Mr. Mancino.
Yes.
Mr. Truax.
Yes.
Motion passes and this one's adjourned. Always exciting.
I only have to do it once a year, and every time when it comes to it, it's like
Okay. Well, call this meeting to order and open with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks for attending this meeting tonight. This is the January 2nd, 2025 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. If you are addressing the commission during the meeting, I ask you to step forward and use the microphone and then start with your name and address, please. Roll call.
Mr. Boggs.
Here.
Mr. Burring. Mr. Mancino.
Here.
Ms. Rogers.
Here.
Mr. Smiley. Mr. Truax.
Here.
Mr. Bush.
Yeah, thank you. We have a bare minimum quorum, which always means we have to, if we make a decision, it has to be unanimous tonight. So we have no old business on the agenda. We'll move to new business. The first item is Transportation Corridor Overlay District Application TCOD 24002.
Of course. So the location of this is on Coriolis Drive. It's currently zoned at GB General Business. And the applicant's requesting approval of a Transportation Corridor Overlay District application pursuant to section 1259.07 of the Pataskala Code for development of the Animal Hospital Pataskala with associated site improvements. So take a look up here. This parcel outlined in yellow is the subject parcel. You've got Coriolis Drive here, running on the east, with Broad being down south. The property itself is just over 4.14 acres on the west side of Corliss Drive, just north of Hazelwood Plaza. Got just over 266 feet of frontage. Proposal is the requesting approval of the TCOD application to approve a portion of the overall acreage as a new location for the Animal Hospital Pataskala with associated site improvements. It is a permitted use so long as no structure within 200 feet of residentially zoned property or use. So just a quick overview there, proposal, the structure itself, 8,192 square foot commercial building, 23 feet, 11 inches in height. The precise setbacks weren't indicated, however, they will be at the minimum required by code, that being 200 feet from the north side property line, 200 feet from the west rear property line, 50 feet from the east frontage, and 25 feet from the south side property line. So here's a look at the site plan that was submitted by the applicant. We have an access coming in off Coriolis Drive to the parking area. The structure being situated down here, kind of in the southeast portion of the lot. The access is going to be a two-way access on the Coriolis Drive. It'll be extending the 5-foot sidewalk along the west side of the street there. For the parking areas, there'll be 50 on-site parking spaces, including 2 ADA accessible spaces. Be 3 pole-mounted lights within the parking area, set at 22 feet 6 inches in height, 1 wall-mounted light on the west face of the structure. The proposed fixtures are dark skies friendly. For the landscaping and screening to the east frontage of Corliss Drive, there's going to be 5 trees. On the north side, it's a mix of deciduous and evergreen trees and shrubs for the L3 standard. On the south side and west side, there was none provided. Signage, they will have shown 1 monument sign along the access to Corliss Drive there, 8 feet in height. Here's a look at the landscaping plan that was submitted by the applicants. We have some trees along the front of the Corliss here, that L3 screening of the 6-foot high shrubs with the trees there, and some interior plantings in the parking lot area. There's going to be a dumpster pad enclosure on the south side of the proposed parking area behind the proposed structure. There's a stormwater facility in the southwest portion of the lot, and there are provisions for a future commercial area in the rear of the lot. However, they're only pursuing approval of the veterinary hospital at this time, so any future development is purely conceptual at this point. And here, look at some renderings that were submitted by the applicant along with their application of the proposed structure. As part of our review, staff would offer the following comments. So we have a full list of our comments that's attached to the staff report there. As part of the TCOD process, the Planning and Zoning Commission may approve with modification, or deny certain aspects of an application, even if they don't strictly meet Pataskala Code. Those 3 things are the setbacks, the buffer zones, so the landscaping, and the parking amounts. And also as part of the TCD, certain design standards must be met. For 125905A, that requires that traffic safety measures be implemented in an effort to aid access to traffic management. So in consultation with the Public Service Department, they determined that they would require an additional turn lane to be striped in on Corliss Drive. The existing right-of-way and pavement widths there are enough to accommodate that. A few other items from the staff report worth noting. Minimum setback lines were shown, but we want to see the specific dimensions for the landscaping. The plan makes a mention of a sheet L101 with a planting list on it, but I didn't see that in the application there. And then L3 and L4, or L4 is required when abutting a residential district. L3 and L4, basically that 6-foot high screen with a tree every 30 feet. On the west rear property line, there was no screening provided there. L2 is required along the frontage. L2 is a 3-foot high shrub screen with a tree every 30 feet, or you can use a 3-foot mound in place of the shrubs. They only had the trees there on the frontage, not the shrubs or the mound. And the fire district will likely require 2 permanent means of access to the development. The future development area shows the potential emergency access to the south, but none from the proposed development right now. Public Service Department had the following comments. The full comments are in the staff report there. 1, striping a turn lane on Corliss Drive, length and arrangement to be confirmed with Public Service Department as part of the construction plans. And 2, they want to know where the proposed detention outlets. Pataskala Utilities wanted a backflow prevention device to be installed on the water service line. And then for the city engineer, they had the following comments. Consider requesting the frontage road be resurfaced. The boulder detention be sized for the future development. Traffic impact study may be required based on the trips generated by the development and future development combined. 4, where is the detention basin outlet to? 5, dimension labels on some of the site plan reversal line. 6 is the second access, a construction entrance or emergency vehicle access. The site needs a second way for fire EMS. And finally, the 2 parking spaces nearest the dumpster are not maneuverable when backing out to exit the lot. Didn't receive any comments from any other departments or agencies. For the surrounding properties, to the north, it is zoned R7, village single-family residential, that's single-family homes. To the east is residential multifamily, which are some condominium units. And to the south and west are both general business. On the south, you have Hazelwood Plaza. The west, across the street on Corliss, you have a preschool and a car wash. So should the Planning and Zoning Commission choose to recommend approval of the applicant's request, following conditions may be considered. 1, that the applicant address all comments from Planning and Zoning staff, the Public Service Department, the city engineer, and the Utilities Department. And 2, the applicant shall submit the construction plans application within 1 year of the date of approval. We did kind of add one here that wasn't in the staff report relating to that emergency access. 3, that should a secondary access be required by the fire district, the applicant shall update the plans accordingly for review and approval by the fire district and the Planning and Zoning Department. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you, Jack. Questions for Jack, Scott, Lisa? David?
One of the comments was that there's 3 items: amount of parking provided, buffers and setbacks, that we can approve or modify, or according to my calculations, they have more than the required parking. Is that
That's correct.
Yeah. So they need, I think, if they go the worst case and use the entire square footage of the facility divided by 200, they would need 41, and they have 50 labeled, but 4 are not
Right.
accessible, so they have 46. So they're over parked. They have more than what's required.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it.
Thanks.
Were there any concerns about water or sewer?
No. So as far as capacity,
Yeah.
so talking with utility departments, the capacity for the sanitary should be no issues there.
Okay. That's all.
Thanks. Jerry?
The landscaping on the west side, then, will all that be taken care of in the conditions? Do you feel that can all be covered on the conditions, that there's no shrubbery or anything?
It could be, yeah. If you feel that it's appropriate that they should screen it, then yeah, it'll be covered by the conditions. Or if you want to, you do have the right to waive it, but ultimately it's up to you.
Okay, because that is From what I'm seeing, that's residential on the west side then,
Correct, yeah.
So if they develop the back half, the west half of that site, would there be a potential that whatever goes in there would have a different screening requirement than what is required now?
No, it would just either have to be that L3 or L4 that would be required now.
Any question I have right now, sir?
Okay, thank you. And I had no questions for the staff. So we'll move on to the applicant representative. Give you an opportunity to address us.
I am Brent Fraley with Fraley and Fraley. We represent Dr. Justin Harris, the owner of Animal Hospital of Pataskala.
I'm sorry. You need to swear you in first.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Raise your hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give the truth or do nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Apologize.
That was my fault.
So anyway, I'm Brent Fraley, Fraley and Fraley, and Dr. Justin Harris has the current animal hospital of Pataskala here locally, and he is hoping to expand into this facility that we've designed and have in front of you now. As far as all the recommendations, Scott and Jack have been great to work with, and we don't have any issues. If the fire department requires that other emergency access, we are more than happy to do it. We will absolutely, the screening on the west side of the property was an oversight on our part. Therefore, we do feel that we need and will have to do that if it's recommended. The only holdback on the screening would be there is a proposed building back there. So I think we ought to take in consideration, when that proposed building goes in, do we screen it then? We're 300 foot away with parking now. Do we screen it now? That's going to be just, I'm just throwing that out there as when does that get done? The turn lane of the painting of the turn lane and striping of the turn lane, no issues there. I've not asked the question, and it is a concern of ours as far as the resurfacing of the street out there. So just not sure what's going on with that, but I can assure you that my client did not, budget for resurfacing of that street. So, but I think it is absolutely of a topic for conversation. So my main goal here right now is to answer any questions you folks may have about this project and, try to work through any questions you have.
Okay, thank you. So questions for the applicants? Ann, we'll start with you this time.
No, I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Jerry?
Timeline on the second building, you said something about when, if you don't put the screening up, how
I
long?
cannot give you a
So you don't have a
timeline. We have no use we have no one for another building back there. So I absolutely cannot give you a timeline on that, to be very honest.
Thank you. No other questions, sir.
David?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Just a general comment, I guess, that I would, me personally, I would prefer that the landscaping, the screening go in now because you don't know how long it'll be.
Absolutely.
It may be 5 years, maybe, who knows, might be next year, but that's my preference anyway. I'd rather see it sooner than later.
Sure. Absolutely.
And the street paving, I guess I'll kind of ask for a comment there from Jack or Scott. It doesn't seem, and again, this is just me, not a paving specialist, but it doesn't seem like it would need it. But
I think it was more of a general recommendation from the engineer. We'd have to, I guess, coordinate with the public service department to figure out what the condition of that asphalt is. And then ultimately it would be up to them to make that decision.
And I'm curious, since the public service department didn't specifically mention that, you just kind of have a random patch of new pavement and then you have joints, water gets in, freezes, thaws, that I don't know that would be, and again, I'm not a pavement expert, but I don't know that makes a lot of sense, particularly because the public service department, if they were adamant, that would have been listed and they weren't. And then they keep an annual streets project, so Corliss is probably on the list somewhere, so it probably makes more sense to hold off on that and let the Public Service Department address that when they do repay Corliss, based on their timelines.
And that makes sense to me anyway. Actually, I had no other questions, just a comment. Really trivial thing, but page C100, got the wrong zip code for Pataskala. It just kind of jumped out at me. Wait,
There's been a few mistakes on there.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other follow-up questions? No?
Not the moment.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
So if there are no other questions for either staff or
I have a
applicant,
question for staff as
Okay.
far as the traffic impact study. Do you think something is required, being that it's a veterinary clinic? I mean,
I guess you could require it, but if they're gonna do the turn lane anyway,
yeah,
we can do the study to kind of say, hey, you need a turn lane. Or you could say, maybe you don't, but I think it's, at this point, the pavement width is appropriate, all you have to do is paint it in. I think considering the Public Service Department was okay with that, I think that's what I would recommend we go with, but again, I defer to the commission.
no, I think that's sufficient.
Yeah,
The fact that it's going in, I think,
Well,
Yeah.
veterinary clinics aren't really high-traffic
right.
destinations. I mean, you really have a couple of appointments per hour, maybe, that are going in and out.
and I think maybe the comment and the recommendation was for the possible future building as well. It was not just for this, for the vet clinic.
So at a second, if they were to do something with the remainder of the property, we may have to require another one. Traffic impact study might be recommended at that point.
Yeah.
But for now, this would be sufficient. Okay.
Any other questions? Jack, if you bring up that third, possibly, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Deliberation time, any
Well,
thoughts you want to share?
the question is, do we need to put a condition on the landscape into it also?
Yes.
And then also, what do we think about the third one that's on there right now? Secondary access, should it be?
If I could jump in real quick,
Go
just
ahead,
to give you the
please.
thought process of where we were coming from. So, as you're aware, these all go out to all the different departments and agencies, fire district being one of them. Typically, we all know that they require 2 ways in and out. They did not comment that. So our concern was we prove it without that, go to construction plans, move through the process, and eventually the fire district says, wait a minute, this can't move forward, you need a secondary access. Then at that point, the applicant would have to come back to the TCOD, the planning commission, and show, I worked this out with the fire district, public service, and the planning zoning department. This is good, everybody's okay with it, and it would just be okay. So it seems like instead of potentially making them go back through the process again, it'd be a lot easier just to address the plans if that is in fact required and do it administratively.
So, looking at the site and development plan, there's a curb cut into the neighboring property to the south. So there's a drive that runs along. Typically, the fire department just wants to be able to get almost 360 access. They don't have to have 360, they can get a hammerhead or whatever, as long as they can turn their vehicles around and they're within 150 feet of where they stop. So would the fire department consider that drive on the adjacent property to be sufficient and they don't have to do an additional?
It could be, we didn't receive any comments from them, so we'd have to coordinate with them and see if it would be acceptable or not.
But it does seem reasonable that this would cover it if that's, the fire district comes back and says, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Then they don't have to come back through the whole process again. And that,
Generally, when they don't respond to the request for comments, it's kind of taken as they don't have any issue with it. But we do know in previous experiences that they always make this comment, so we don't know, maybe with the holidays, they didn't have time to respond or what have you. Maybe they are okay with it. We just want
Yeah, I was thinking that because there's a drive already there, that's enough to be able to access that south side of the property from.
very, very well could be.
And I agree with Jack, that very well may be, but from our standpoint.
Better
it's
safe than
very,
sorry.
very odd
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
don't,
Better
when they
safe
don't
than
say
sorry.
that, so we just wanted to kind of put a contingency plan in place.
and that does, I'm sorry, I do need to ask a question of you. That brings up another issue. If you put in that emergency access, that's where the dumpster is right now. And
Yeah,
it
we'll
was
have to
already
locate.
called out that the dumpster has created an issue with 2 parking spaces.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on?
There's actually shown a alternate dumpster site for future, on the future design. We can, the dumpster's actually moved.
Okay. I thought you probably addressed that.
Right
but I
there,
just
yeah.
wanted
See
to be
it?
sure.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So back to your question, I think it was on the condition, I think that,
Needs to be,
yeah, and the landscape.
And the landscape.
screening. Okay.
is just the west, is that the only place that we're requiring landscape? I know the south butts up against business already, but what's everybody's thoughts on that?
Well, and then there's the question about the number of trees. Because you had pointed out on the staff report that the trees on the plan are slightly lower than what's required.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so are we okay with that as it is, or?
But does that fall under one, as applicants shall address all comments from planning and
That
zoning
would,
staff?
should fall under
You
one.
think that, will that fall under
Yeah,
that?
if we look at the staff report, there's comments, L3, L4, requirement of abutting a residential zoning district, west side has no screening provided. So if they have to address all those comments by default, you have to do L3 or L4. And then the next one, L2, required along frontage, no shrubs provided, additional trees need to be 1 tree per 30 feet requirement. Again, by default, that's one of our comments, so they need to address.
Okay,
If you'd like a specific condition, we can do it, but I think we always like to do the umbrella terms to say, here's everything we have.
so should we at least add landscape as a condition with the statements made by the report, or just leave it out? What's your,
Typically, since it's one of the comments we provided, and then the condition is they address all of our comments, it's usually a catch-all that they need to make these updates to the plan. If you'd like to be specific, you're more than welcome to, but typically, when we say, here's all our comments, you need to address them. That's a condition of approval that kind of captures that it needs to be updated.
kind of better safe than sorry to leave it up to the staff to be able to make sure it's all correct instead of us trying to get,
Yes.
so just take out landscaping right now and just leave it as one,
Yeah.
will catch the
I think
whole
we should be
umbrella.
okay on that. The timing on that screening on the west side is also covered. I mean, that's,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
it needs to go in.
Okay,
Any other discussion?
You have the detention basin outlet figured out?
We'll have to look at it as part of the construction plans. I don't
Okay.
know if they had sized it for future development or outlet or what have you, but we'll have to have our engineers take a look at all that.
And they'll provide stormwater calculations, so as part of that, they'll have to show, is it sized appropriately, where's the outlet? I know to the west, behind Kroger's, there's a dry basin, so it might go there, but they will have to show, here they show like, here's where we're gonna put it. You know, and they say that should work, but I need more details, and then the stormwater calculations show this is how it will work, so the engineers can say that will work. So that comes in the construction plan phase of the development.
Do we need to address the city engineer's comments about requesting the road to be resurfaced? Do we need to exclude that?
I think we decided that that didn't need to be added.
Right, but if we just say we're gonna go with the blanket comments, that's one of the comments.
And when we phrase it that all comments will be addressed, because we don't want to say if there's one comment that says you need to do X. And they say, well, what if we did Y? Then we say, yeah, that would actually work better. It's like, well, you had to do X, so you have to come back in. So we leave it open-ended that you need to address all these.
Shall address all comments.
Yeah, so in the sense that if the public service department was like, don't worry about it, it's been
So you
addressed.
can address it by
Yeah.
saying it's not applicable or, okay.
Yes, that's why we use address instead of you
Okay.
shall do, absolutely does.
I do have a question about the signage for you have an 8-foot structure. I don't see a photo. I don't see a rendition of
We only located it. We did not do anything on the actual signage. We do not have any kind of rendering of the signage itself. Just the location and the size of it to comply with the availability. So the size was just to comply with what size we could use. So no, we did not do any renderings for that as of yet.
Okay, so it'll just be under the assumption that whatever they request will be approved.
But it would just have to meet code,
Yeah,
so,
The sign permit.
yeah.
I will address that a little further. The signage will match the construction materials on the building.
I like the building rendering.
Yeah,
That's
so
nice.
the sign will be of the same materials as the
Okay.
building, very simple,
Okay,
okay?
all right, thank you. I don't have anything else.
Anybody else? No. If not, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve a transportation corridor overlay district application TCOD-24-002 pursuant to section 1259.07 of the Pataskala Code with the following conditions. That 2 that are stated already, 1 and 2 that are stated, and adding the third, should the second access be required for the fire district, the applicant shall update the plans accordingly for review and approval of the fire district and planning and zoning department.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to approve the application with 3 conditions. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, David. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Mr. Mancino,
Yes.
Ms. Rogers,
Yes,
Mr. Truax,
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time this evening.
What's your time frame on this? I guess we didn't ask that. Or
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
time frame?
I hope to be done by the end of the year.
Thank you.
My client definitely wants home and is home by the end of the year.
We got 12 months.
Okay, next on the agenda, replat application REP 24004.
Alright. So location of this is on East Avenue Southwest. It's an it's actually 4 unaddressed parcels. It's zoned R20, medium density residential. And requesting approval of replat pursuant to section 1113.48 Pataskala Code for lots 185 through 188 of the Blanches East Broad Street Edition. So here are the 4 parcels in question. We got East Avenue here to the east. And then, so again, it's 4 lots, 0.104 acres each. They're all vacant, undeveloped lots, zoned R20. The applicant would like to combine these 4 lots into a single parcel, lot 185-A, in order to allow for the construction of a future single-family home. So that proposed lot is going to be 127.41 feet wide at the right-of-way, and about 142 feet deep. Here's a look at the proposed replat. So you got these lots here, get combined into a single one. Planning and zoning staff would offer the following comments. So pursuant to section 1113.32, any alterations to existing lot lines within the subdivision are subject to a replat. Only have one comment that we took a look at everything looked good except for that the Southwest Licking Community Water and Sewer District has changed its name to the Licking Regional Water District. So just change the signature line on that. Just if replat be approved, the applicant will have to submit a Mylar copy to us, the Planning and Zoning Office, for signatures. The Licking Regional Water District also had the same comment to change the signature line. Did you receive any comments from any other departments or agencies? For surrounding properties to the north, east, south, and west, they're all zoned to R20 medium density residential, and they're all vacant. So should the Planning and Zoning Commission choose to recommend approval of the request, the following conditions may be considered. One, that the applicant submit a replat Mylar in accordance with sections 1113.39 and 1113.44 Pataskala Code after comments from planning and zoning staff have been addressed. Two, pursuant to section 1113.49 of Pataskala Code, the replat shall be recorded within 30 days of the latest signature. And if the applicant, sorry, I think I had the wrong one in there. That was supposed to be Licking Regional Water District, so address all their comments as well. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Any questions for Jack? For the record, our applicant is not here tonight. That was, do we know if that was planned that he, anyway. It does seem pretty straightforward, and it's a little unusual that we don't have an applicant or representative here, but I don't know that that creates any issue. This is,
It looked, and there's no requirement.
no,
I just want to make sure that if
Yeah.
you say that they have to be here, there's no requirement that they be here. It's just the decision is up to you.
Right.
Again, it's odd they're not here, but it doesn't stop you from.
We send reminders out. They should be aware.
and this does seem to be a pretty straightforward, I mean, we've done this before,
Yeah,
so.
and I think if they don't do it, I don't think you can build anything on any of those parcels. They're so narrow that if you couldn't comply with any setback, you could have maybe a carport at the most.
Maybe. Okay. Well, I'll still do the round robin, just to, questions
No questions.
or discussion, I guess. Jerry?
No, sir.
Ann? If not, we entertain a motion for action on the application.
I'll make a motion. If I can find my, what's the modifications? I apologize. I move that we approve replat application number REP-24-0004 pursuant to section 1113.48 of the Pataskala Code with the following two modifications stated in the report.
Thank you. A motion to approve with two modifications.
There should be a third one.
Third one?
That'd be
Oh,
address all comments from Licking Regional.
I
Water
apologize.
District, but I don't know.
Including the third applicant, the third modification that applicant shall address all planning and zoning staff comments.
Licking Regional Water.
Licking Regional Water District. I knew there was something I was missing.
Okay, we do have a
I will
motion.
second that.
Thank you, Ann. Discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Boggs?
Yes,
Mr. Mancino?
Yes.
Ms. Truax?
Yes.
that motion passes. Okay, moving on. We have any other business tonight? None on the agenda.
No, sir.
Number 7, excuse of absences. First is me.
I make a motion that we excuse Rick Boggs from the November 6th, 2024 regular meeting.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Truax?
Yes.
Mr. Mancino?
Yes.
Mr. Boggs?
Abstain.
I think you have to vote yes.
Hmm?
Yeah, I think you have to vote yes, don't you?
Well, abstentions go with the majority,
Okay.
so
You've been at this
Yeah.
longer than I have.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
the motion passes. Next, David's absence.
I will make another motion that we excuse the absence of David Mancino from November 6, 2024, regular meeting.
I'll second it. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Boggs?
Yes?
Mr. Mancino?
Abstain.
Mr. Truax?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Okay. Always the most difficult part, right? Moving on, number 8, approval of meeting minutes. Everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the November 6th, 2024 meeting. Any additions or corrections? If not, then I'll move that the minutes of the November 6th, 2024 regular meeting be approved as presented.
Second it.
Any discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Mr. Mancino?
Yes.
Mr. Boggs?
Yes,
Mr. Truax?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
motion passes. Anything else tonight?
One big one.
If not,
I'll make a motion that we adjourn to Wednesday, February 5th, 2025's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Second?
thank you, Ann. Roll call.
Mr. Boggs?
Yes,
Mr. Truax?
Yes.
Mr. Mancino?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
motion passes and we're done.